Hello, beautiful soul. Thank you so much for tuning in and checking out this video. I would like to dedicate this recording to healing the division between women. I have been on a journey now to reawaken, reclaim, and restore the feminine within me. We have lived, grown up, been conditioned in an overly dominant world, overly dominant male energy, masculine energy world. We have grown up in a patriarchal system, and all of that is dissolving. It's all crumbling, and which is great. So the feminine is rising, consciousness is rising, and I am part of that movement. I'm really excited about it. So again, I've had the intention, held the intention, cast the intention of reawakening, reclaiming, restoring, asking the feminine to direct my life. I've been listening to certain spiritual teachers, reading lots of books, watching different videos, taking in a lot of information around what it means to embody more feminine essence. But with that, I've been making my way through a maze almost, moving through weeds, moving through a little bit of darkness, I guess, for lack of a better word, to understand what that really means for me, to consciously understand what it feels like, what it sounds like, what it looks like to embody more feminine energy. I'm looking to find that balance between divine feminine and divine masculine, to bring the two into balance. So as I've been reading and listening and watching, that's all been fine and dandy, but I've also been doing a lot of introspection and asking the questions and finding my way forward on my own with the guidance and the help of others. But this journey is very personal. Again, we can read and watch and listen to as much as we can, but the embodiment, the work done around it is my own. And that is about, for me, it's about that cultivating curiosity, asking the questions, honest self-exploration, listening to my intuition, tuning into my inner guidance, and then taking action steps on that. So that is part of the feminine, that ability to become still, to tune in, to listen, to allow, to trust, and allow our intuition, or my intuition, to speak. That's embodying feminine essence. There's also the idea of open to receiving. So I've been open to receiving information. I've been open to receiving guidance from deep within me, and then acting on that intuition. So there's some balance of feminine and masculine. Taking the necessary moments to come into stillness, to be in meditation, to listen to my intuition. The task of the feminine is to be the vessel that contains our truth, our vision, our essence. And the task of the masculine is to take that truth out into the world in a clear and straightforward way, to take action. So intuitive hits, intuitive knowing, deep knowing, and then doing something about it, taking an action, feeling confident enough to then take the actions on the intuitive messages I've received. That's a balance of feminine and masculine energy. Okay. The past few months, this has happened naturally, organically, and intuitively through moments of stillness and meditation. I have been reaching out to women in my life, apologizing to them. Now, no one's asked me to do this. I didn't hear or read the suggestion to do this. This began to happen, like I said, naturally. In moments of stillness, meditation, certain women would flow through my awareness, and I would tune into my body and notice that there was an energetic heaviness, that I was still carrying something around in regards to my relationship with them. So I began to reach out to specific women in my life. Let me backtrack just a little bit. I think personally, because it's my experience, that a lot of what I was doing over the past couple of months had to do with my journey of learning how to speak my truth, because the road at the beginning was very bumpy. And I know that many of my childhood wounds and trauma were still playing out in adulthood in regards to my relationships with other women. And there's also, early childhood, teenage years, all of the mean girls. And I've done a lot of forgiveness around that part of my life, but I'm talking about more recently. So I would recognize the moments where I would think and I would feel, that was really rough, the way I approached that, the way I handled that, the way I treated her, the words that I said to her. And I would allow myself to feel that. So another aspect of the feminine is being able to touch, open your emotional center, to allow yourself to feel. And we've been trained, we've been taught to run away from, ignore, deny, hate, manage, control our emotions. But the feminine is being able to sit with them, not run away, not move on to something else, not to distract yourself from something, but to really feel what you're feeling. And that's what I did. And there was some yuckiness in there, like, wow, I really could have handled that better. I feel bad, even though I know I'm not responsible for how another person reacts or how they feel or how they respond. But I am responsible for my actions, and I'm responsible for clearing karma and finding balance and harmony within myself. So I began to reach out. And most of the women that I have approached and apologized to have responded in a very heart-centered, forgiving, favorable way, which I'm so grateful for. Some women haven't. And I'm not going to tell you how many people I've reached out to. I'm making it sound like I've had like dozens and dozens of really challenging female relationships that I'm trying to mend and heal. That's not what this is about. I'm very grateful for the women who have been open and willing to receive my apology and in return create a dialogue. And in return, heal and strengthen a bond between us. The other women who haven't, there's one in particular I'm thinking about right now. It's okay. I did what I felt I needed to do. And again, I'm not responsible for what happens on her end. What happens after I do what I did is none of my business. And I send love. I feel neutral. I send her love. I send so much gratitude for the time shared. And I also send understanding that maybe she's just not in a place and it's okay. So some relationships have been rebuilt or strengthened or deepened, and some have dissolved. And I'm okay with both. And this is a really important point here. To be okay with some, some relationships in your life dissolving. Excuse me while I have a sip of tea. Delicious chamomile tea. If the relationship is renewed, reignited, great, wonderful. If it remains dissolved, great, wonderful. It doesn't matter anymore. I'm good either way, and that's what's really important. So, mission to heal the division between me and other females in my life, other women in my life, because I feel so strongly about creating a sisterhood and coming together, bringing unity, women coming together with the intention, with the hope of embodying more feminine energy, because that's what this world needs more now than ever before. So in my own journey, doing my own inner work, I started to take a look at, well, what are some practices that I can engage in beyond these apologies that I have been offering? What other practices can I engage in that will help me to heal the division even more deeply? Because as I heal internally, as you heal internally, individually, as we heal relationships in our lives, we heal the collective. We bring a healing to the one human body. So it's a win-win. So I'm going to run through these. Take what feels right, leave the rest. Maybe in this list that I'm going to share with you, there's one practice, one thing that sparks a little something within you and you think, maybe I'll give that a try. Especially if you're a woman listening who is getting it, you're understanding, you're like, yeah, I want in on this feminine rising movement. I want to be part of this. And this is something that you can do. So number one, I have this written here, but I'm going to say it now. Apologize. Let yourself be vulnerable enough and trusting enough to apologize, even if the relationship heals and deepens, or even if the relationship dissolves. Let yourself be in stillness. Feel into the energy of the different relationships with the women in your life and notice if you're carrying around any heaviness, what that means, and how you might want to apologize for your past behaviors, actions, and words. Stop gossiping. Well, let me just go down the list. This is number one. Stop gossiping and stop judging. Stop. Every time you judge another woman, you are judging yourself. Stop judging yourself. Stop judging other women. The gossiping, let it stop with you. One of my first consciousness teacher, Louise Hay, she spoke about gossiping and how, or the need to stop it in its tracks. So if you're around a bunch of women and they are gossiping, stop it with you. Don't take the gossiping any further. It's not about taking a teaching moment to scold them and say, you all shouldn't be gossiping. You need to stop gossiping. Instead, as it stops with you, you become a living example of how to be to other women. You set the example by stopping the gossip with you. So stop judging yourself. Please stop judging other women and stop gossiping. Question why it is that you like to gossip. What are you getting out of it? What sort of energy are you in? What are you receiving from being around a bunch of women gossiping about other women? Just stop. Number 2, recognize self-righteousness in proving another wrong. So this goes right in line. Actually, a lot of what I have written here goes in line with the whole judging and gossiping about other women. Where are you trying to prove yourself right and another person wrong? And if you're paying attention, you may be able to recognize this in those ideas of gossiping and judging. When you're judging someone, there's emotion in there. There's a feeling, there's an emotion in there that if you're paying attention, if you're curious about it, you'll be able to recognize it. And you might decide, you know what, I don't want to feel this anymore. It might be jealousy. And that's why you're gossiping. That's why you're judging. That's why you're trying to prove another woman wrong so that you can feel right. Number 3, create uplifting, positive, loving stories in your mind. There is a process, and I call this a new narrative. There is a process that every human being goes through. An event happens. A story is immediately created around the event. And if you are not practicing awareness, many times, don't have a statistic for you or a number for you, most of the times, it's a story that's based in fear, negativity, lack, or limitation. It's a story that comes through your childhood wounds playing out in your adulthood. So an event happens, you immediately create a story around it. That story immediately generates a feeling. If you are creating a story that's based in negativity, you are going to generate lower vibrational feelings. So then the story and the feeling determine how you behave, and then your behavior determines the outcome. It's a process that we all go through. Creating a more uplifting, supportive, loving story creates a higher vibrational feeling. That positive story and higher vibrational feeling will then generate a higher vibrational behavior. And then the outcome will be something that's more aligned with what it is you prefer. So just using a quick example here, you send a text to a woman, whether it's a friend, coworker, whatever it is, it's another female in your life. She doesn't respond. Then you start to get all up in your head and you start to create all of these stories around why she didn't respond. And then you're going into judgment, and then you're going into that self-righteousness. So you're creating negative stories. Check in with yourself. How are you feeling? What sort of emotions are you feeling? I imagine they're heavy and they're lower vibrational feelings and emotions. That determines behavior. The behavior can look like judging, gossiping. It can look like pulling your energy back. And then the outcome is strain on the relationship. So, a new narrative looks like this. You text someone, they don't text you back, you remain neutral. You create a story that might sound like this. Well, I imagine she's probably pretty busy. She'll get back to me when she has time to get back to me. Those more positive, uplifting stories create higher vibrational feelings and emotions. And then that determines a higher vibrational behavior. You move on with your day. You go do this, you go do that. You're in a much better mood. And then your outcome is a deepened relationship. Can you feel the difference within yourself? And you can do this with anything. Any sort of event that happens in your life, anytime that you are triggered into a strong emotion, whenever there is something that the universe places in front of you that you just do not want, you're not accepting, check in with the stories that you are creating in your mind. But for today, pay attention to the stories that you're creating about other women in your life and practice a new narrative. 4, dissolve the structures you have placed upon the relationships with the women in your life. Right here, I've done it my whole life. I have placed rigid structures on the relationships with other women of how I think the relationship should be, how she should act, how she should treat me. Notice how I've been shoulding all over myself? When those expectations of that rigid structure are not met or were not met, I would feel anger, resentment, sadness, depression. I would pull my energy back. I would create distance. I would behave in a way that was childish, and that put a lot of strain on the relationship, or the relationship just went separate ways. So pay attention. Ask yourself, have I placed or am I placing a rigid structure on this relationship with this woman? Allow your relationships to be what they are. Let the relationship over time show you what it's about. You're there with each other for a reason, but instead of forcing the relationship to be something that it's not, just let it show you what it is. 5, I already talked about this one, but I'm going to mention it again. Allow yourself to get vulnerable and apologize. Number 6, ask yourself, what role did I or am I playing? This is a great question, and this is a question that I asked myself time and time again. What just came up for me was during COVID, when I spent a lot of time on my yoga mat in a yin practice. I was processing a lot of relationship issues during that time, and I would ask myself that question. It can be a tough question. What role did I play? Or what role am I playing? If it's something that's currently playing out in your life. But I would ask, what role did I play? And then I would cultivate curiosity, and I would practice honest self-exploration, speaking the truths of the role I played to myself. What role did you play? What role are you playing in the relationship? This removes the blame, which I probably could have put down as another practice here. It removes the blame, and it brings you ownership, responsibility. And I know many of us like to run away from that, and it's so much easier to blame the other person, why things happened. What role did you play? Number 7, practice awareness of your patterns and patterns of thought and behavior. So as far as I'm concerned, that probably could have been number 1. Awareness, self-awareness, every day, all day long. Awareness. This also reminds me of the new narrative, and I didn't mention this before, that event happens, stories created, feeling is assigned, behavior is determined, outcome transpires. You can look at the behaviors. So for me, that pulling my energy back and pretending everything was okay, that was a pattern I would look at. And I would notice, wow, I do that a lot. So I started there. I started looking at my patterns of thought, word, and behavior. That is a great practice of self-awareness. And I know you've heard me say this already in this video, but think about self-awareness, cultivating curiosity, and honest self-examination, honest self-exploration, asking yourself the important questions. and then creating space for the truth to emerge from within you. Remember, the feminine is that deep knowing. It's holding the truth. Speak those truths to yourself. Practice awareness around your patterns. And then you can work back to the story. So if you're looking at an outcome or if you're looking at a behavior, you can work your way back. Well, what was I feeling when I was behaving that way? What was I thinking when I was behaving that way? What story was I telling myself about the event or the relationship struggle? What story was I telling myself about myself in relation to the event that happened? These are all wonderful questions that will help you deepen your practice of self-awareness. Number 8, accept women for who they are, including yourself. Practice acceptance. When we are not accepting, we are complaining, we are judging, we are gossiping. This is a practice of acceptance. I would compare myself to women. I still do it slightly. I still got some work to do because I wasn't accepting me, but I would compare myself to them, especially women that looked more like my body type. And I would think, wow, I accept that person for what they look like. And it looks like they're receiving love. They're lovable. So I must be lovable too. Accept women for who they are. It might not be a woman that you want to hang out with, but you can still accept her for who she is. Even if she triggers you, you can still practicing acceptance of who she is. And it can be as simple as, I accept you for who you are. I'm sorry that you're not the person that I want you to be. I forgive you for not being the person that I want you to be, or I forgive you for not being the person I need you to be, but I accept you for who you are. Wonderful use of affirmations. Number 9, speak your truth. I mentioned this a little bit at the beginning. My road was very bumpy at first, but once you are in that practice of introspection and self-examination and you're trusting your intuition and listening to your intuition, you know those truths. It's not about telling the whole world the truth. It's about the people who matter most at the times that it's important to do so, to speak your truth. And that can look like you expressing to another woman in your life what you're feeling, what you're experiencing, who you are becoming. Speaking your truth can take many, many, many forms. But apologies, that is also speaking your truth, being in that vulnerable place, approaching another woman in your life to heal the division between the two of you, to mend and heal the relationship, to speak your truth, to apologize, to say what you're feeling. Likewise, you could also reach out to someone who hurt you, and in a very loving, compassionate, but honest and direct way. There's balance of feminine and masculine. Let them know how their behavior or their words affected you. Let them know that you're carrying around this energy that you're looking to clear. You're looking to heal the past, heal the relationship, clear the karma. Build that confidence to be vulnerable and to speak your truth. And for those of you who are or could be more overly aggressive and have no problem speaking your truth and don't care whose toes you step on, soften. Let yourself be vulnerable and soft, more compassionate and nurturing. And if you trust the woman enough, you can always begin with something that sounds like, I'm trying a new practice of speaking my truth, and it feels a little awkward right now. Would you please be open to what I'm about to say? There's another practice in vulnerability. Number 10, don't share unless you've You've asked or received permission, and this kind of goes in line with the whole gossip. Say you have a circle of friends, and one friend tells you something. You then go and tell another member of your circle. And maybe that original woman told you that in confidence, but she didn't tell you, please keep this between us. It's an act of integrity to keep that conversation between you and that other woman. Just because you have mutual friends doesn't mean that you can share the information. So a good practice would be, if you're in a conversation with a friend of yours, you could ask, is this all right for me to share? I'm going to be seeing so-and-so later on, mutual friend. Is it okay with you if I, tell her about what's going on? Or if you're the woman who's sharing the information with a member of your circle of friends, it's your responsibility to say, could you please keep this between us? I know you're going to be seeing so-and-so later, but for right now, I would like to just keep this conversation between us. Another good practice is knowing that boundary and holding the confidence and asking permission. I feel like there was something else I wanted to say there, but I'm going to end it there. Number 11, almost done. Listen to understand rather than listen to respond. How many women do you know that when you're done talking, they are right in there? Oh, I know exactly what you're talking about. The same thing happened to me. They go right to their stories. But what if that person fully listened to you, was fully present? And this goes for the same for you. When a woman is talking to you, give her the gift of your presence. What she's sharing with you is not about you, so don't make it about you. Listen to understand her. This creates a deeper bond between you and other women, and vice versa. Even if you are talking to someone, another woman, and the woman starts saying, oh yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Last week, the same thing happened to me. You can say, hold on a second. I know you have experience. You've had this experience you're about to share with me, but right now I just need you to be present with me. I just need you to listen and to try to understand. That idea of being fully present and listening intuitively, listening deeply, and creating a container, a space for the other woman to process, to be with what's going on. And this just came to me. Because we've been so trained to ignore, deny, run away from emotions, a lot of times, especially if a woman is telling you something that's very emotional and she's struggling, if you're uncomfortable with it, you're going to try to distract her. You're going to and it's not conscious. You just don't want to feel those feelings. You don't want to go there. You're like, oh, let me start talking about myself. Listen to understand rather than listen to respond. And number 12, discernment and trust. This is what I have written here. And this is why I wrote this. I want to trust every woman. I want every woman on the planet to be doing the things that I'm doing, healing the division between women, healing the relationships, coming together in a sisterhood, creating these very strong bonds, and all women joining this movement of feminine rising. But that's not the case. Trust is a cornerstone to any relationship. The moment you utter the words of your truth, the relationship changes. The dynamics of the relationship changes. The molecules of the relationship changes. The direction of the relationship changes. And what was associated as a trust changes. But that trust can be rebuilt. But there's also the trust in what it is that you share with certain women. So I know for me, there's some women in my life that I want to trust. I want to be able to share more of myself with her, but I can't for reasons. That's what I'm talking about when it comes to discernment. I see the vision of women, a sisterhood, a global sisterhood, which, by the way, I just received my global sisterhood facilitator certification. Whoop, whoop. But not all women are there, and some may never be. So it is about discernment. Can I open myself up a little bit more around this woman? Feel into it. You'll know. Your intuition will tell you. And it's okay if you can't. And it's okay if you don't. The more you practice these things, the more dedicated you are to healing the division between women, the higher vibrational women you will attract into your life. You are raising your vibration. Every time you do one of these things or all of these things or some of these things, just casting the intention to mend relationships with the women, the females in your life, you're raising your vibration. The more you stand in your integrity, in your truth, the more you offer love and compassion and understanding, you raise your vibration. You will attract to you higher vibrational women that you will trust, that you can trust. And the discernment won't need to be so front and center. Higher vibrational woman attracts higher vibrational woman. Like attracts like. If you choose to try some of these out, you will raise your vibration. Think about the women that you're attracting in your life. Take a look around you. What sort of women are you attracting into your life? Not that I have to go in that direction. So let me come back, because this video was about healing the division between yourself and the women in your life. That's for another conversation. So if you are a woman who is on board the Rising Feminine movement, if you're already doing some of the work, if it's been something you've been hearing about and you're interested in it, if you're feeling or hearing the call to reawaken and reclaim and rediscover that feminine, try some of these out. Feel your way through. Just take some action. Okay, I'm done talking. Thank you so much for tuning in and listening. If you like what you heard today and you haven't subscribed already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button below. Give me a thumbs up. Share this video with other women in your life. Let us heal together. Let us heal individually. Let us heal together. Let us heal the division between women. Let us come together in a strong bond of sisterhood. Thank you for watching.